Hey everybody, and welcome to this Thursday's episode of MBE Movie News. I am of course John from MBE. If you're new here, then nice to see you. I'm John. How are you? Now, the concept of this show is quite simple. We speak about a wide array of hopefully interesting movie topics. We give our movie news and we also give our views on it, like every other movie news show out there that you've probably seen. Now, I'm going to jump right into the headline. It's all about the next James Bond, and of course I'm not speaking about No Time to Die, Daniel Craig's swan song as 007. No, I am speaking about the literal next James Bond. This is coming in from a wide array of different sources, but first and foremost I'm going to be reading from Screen Rant. It did come in, I think, and was broken by perhaps Collider or something like that. I'm not actually sure, but it doesn't matter. It was Barbara Broccoli, obviously that strangely named producer from No Time to Die. She has been out and she's been speaking, doing a new interview with Variety, who have broke it. There you go, it was Variety, not Collider. And she was speaking about the next James Bond, and she appeared to have hit the rumours about a potential female James Bond squarely on the head. She's killed it with one fell swoop. She says, and I quote, "He can be of any colour, but he is male. I believe we should be creating new characters for women. Strong female characters. I'm not particularly interested in taking a male character and having a woman play it. I think women are far more interesting than that." Now, first and foremost, I completely agree with Barbara Broccoli here. Women are very interesting on their own right. They don't have to be shoehorned into a traditionally male character. That's just belittling women. It's belittling female writers out there who may have amazing ideas in their head for female-centric stories and characters. Give them their own movies. Adapt their very interesting stories, which must exist. Just in the recent last 3-4 years, we've seen the likes of Anna, Atomic Blonde, which have been pretty interesting little stories. We've seen Peppermint. All movies I've enjoyed to differing degrees. Atomic Blonde wasn't amazing, I'm not going to lie. I think it was James McAvoy that was in it, and he was okay alongside, I want to say it was Charlize Theron who was in that movie. I hope I'm right. And it was obviously David Leitch of John Wick fame who directed that movie, and it was an interesting little story. She did okay, Charlize, if it was her. And it was slick and it was action-packed. Peppermint was obviously Jennifer Garner, and it was akin to like a Taken revenge-fueled movie, a Death Wish, but with a female protagonist. And I actually enjoyed that movie a whole lot. It was violent, and I connected with that character and her plight of losing her husband and her young daughter, and her sense of urgency when she wanted to go and kill all of these cartel leaders, I think it was. And then obviously, as I did say, we've had a wide array of other ones in there. Anna was the other one. I think it was a Russian supermodel, played the leading figure. It wasn't an amazing movie, but it was okay, and it was female-centric. It was written specifically for an actress to come in and play the part. And I completely agree with Broccoli when she says, I can't say her name without wanting to laugh, incidentally, Broccoli. What a strange name, but I do agree with her that we should be writing great female characters with their own distinct stories. And I've never been on board this bus that's just fighting tooth and nail to have a female James Bond. I've firmly been on the Idris Elba crusade for the last 4 or 5 years. I want to see Idris playing James Bond. I think he's tailor-made for it. The man is just dapper as hell. He can pull off a dinner jacket, he can pull off a bow tie and a shirt. He looks amazing. He's built like a brick shit house, as we like to say over here in the UK. Means he's big and intimidating. He has a big muscular frame, and he also has that refined palate. He can speak the Queen's English very, very well. He's a jack of all trades and a master of all trades as well. He's not a master of none. Idris can do it all, and he's proven that he can do action movies. So I want to see Idris playing the next James Bond. I don't want to see a female playing James Bond. We have had the likes of Emily Blunt and Amelia Clarke and a whole host of other female actresses coming out and saying that they would love to be the first female James Bond, but no, I don't want to see it, and I'm glad to see Barbara Broccoli has come out and says it's not going to happen. These are based on novels. I can never remember the actual novelist. I know he's a world-renowned, or a world, if I can say it right, renowned author, but I have never ever read a James Bond novel. I know they're based on those though, and he wrote it specifically to be a male character. So yeah, I've not got much more to add on that other than to say that I've got a couple of other things to add and I'll get into it briefly. I'm completely contradicting myself. But yeah, I don't want to see it, and I hate to see this even being bandied about out there. We've seen it with Gandalf, some mental actress who played a bit part role in the Peter Jackson Lord of the Ring movie. She came out and suggested that Gandalf should be recast as a female in the Amazon Lord of the Rings TV show, and I was absolutely perplexed, bemused by it. We did a show on it, I ranted about it, and it's the same here. It's the same concept. Traditional male character, and we want to recast it in a female light for some strange reason. I'm not on board for it. I don't want to see it. But look, I'll quickly get into some interesting little things connecting onto this story. Who could be the next James Bond? There's been a number of names banded around, if I can speak. I'm having an absolute mare here. Richard Madden has been put around in certain circles for being a potential next James Bond, something that would interest me. I love Richard as an actor. I've been following this guy from Game of Thrones. I think he's a really talented guy. Also seen him joining the Eternals, and he's such a cool guy as well off the screen. Dead humble. Comes from Scotland obviously, so I'm on board for that. The next Sean Connery potentially. Another Scotsman which has been getting linked to the role, Sam Heughan. He's been very vocal about how he feels it's time for a Scotsman to portray the character of 007 James Bond once again. And he's Scottish, who would have thought it? So he's not blowing his own trumpet at all. Again, another guy that can pull off a suit. Dapper. Great actor. Much like Richard Madden. And of course you also have James Norton, who is the other chap who seems to be one of the front runners in the race to be James Bond, if you'd like. Now, I can't sit here and say I know much about James Norton, other than he was in Little Women. And that's it, really. He's a tall chap. I think he's 6'3", 6'4". He can pull off a suit. He's very refined when it comes to speaking. And he's a jack of all trades in terms of genres that he can do, by all accounts. He's already been offered the role. The bookies are slicing the odds on him portraying James Bond next. So, I don't know who's next. My personal opinion, it should be Idris Elba, but time will tell on who gets the role. As long as it's not female, and it seems to be confirmed that it's not though, then I'll be happy. And that's not me doing down female actors and saying that I don't want to see female representation in movies. That is wrong. I just want to see them getting their own specific, gender-specific roles, because that's the way it should work, you know. Because women are wired differently to men. They're more empathetic, and they handle situations far differently to men. So if you're shoehorning a female into a male role, you're making her act like a male would act if it's based on books and whatnot. So no. I'm glad to see that Barbara Broccoli has come out and quashed the rumours and the speculation. But look guys, I will move on to the next topic on that note. I don't know why I was beating my chest like Matthew McConaughey from The Wolf of Wall Street. The next topic, incidentally, is all about Taika Waititi, and he's been out speaking to The Guardian about why Jojo Rabbit's 6 Oscar nominations have vindicated the risks of making, in his words, a very divisive movie. Now, of course, he's come out and says that I never wanted to make something that was very easy, because for me, if it's too easy, then what's the point? He told Deadline, incidentally, it wasn't The Guardian, I don't know where I got that from. He's went on to say further that sometimes people say, oh, it's divisive, but where I come from, divisive is not a swear word. It means to create discussions, and I completely agree with you, Taika. It's too PC gone mad, the world these days, and there's never a subject which is off boundaries. It's too far to go to in terms of creative and artistic license. You should be able to tackle any subject in the history of mankind and do anything you want with it, genre related, and not be afraid to trample on people's toes. And Taika was singing from the same hymn sheet as me when he chose to go out and do Jojo Rabbit, based on a novel from 2010, I do believe, about this young guy who has an imaginary friend who just so happens to be Adolf Hitler. I thought it was a wonderful movie. We spoke about it, we reviewed it last Friday. I really enjoyed the blending of genres, the nuanced way in which he handled the story. A man of Polynesian Jewish descent himself, he is acutely aware of obviously the issues that Jewish people faced back in those horrific times. What Adolf Hitler and the equally horrific Third Reich did to a whole host of minor communities, minority communities if you like. And so I thought he handled this movie with a real delicate touch, and I'm so happy to see that he has been vindicated with the 6 Oscar nominations. This movie thoroughly deserves its nominations. It deserves to be highlighted as one of the best movies of the year. It was magnificent. The performance he got out of young Griffin Davis, I think his name is, a young guy, Roman Griffiths Davis, I think his name is, was spectacular. The performance he got out of Scarlett Johansson, out of Sam Rockwell, even Rebel Wilson popped up and did well. The young girl, Thomas Mackenzie, and the other little bespeckled chap, the friend. I was about to say specky, that's very wrong. I wear glasses myself, so that is not at all PC, politically correct if you like. But yeah, look, I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad to see he's come out and really beating his chest, which is ironic because I was doing that before I came on to this subject, and he's really highlighting that he has been vindicated, that this movie has seemed to have garnered widespread love instead of consternation and division, which seemed to be coming out of critical spheres before the movie was released. He did go on to further say that comedy has always, for thousands and thousands of years, been a way of connecting audiences and delivering more profound messages by disarming them and opening them up to receive those messages. Comedy is a way more powerful tool than just straight drama. Because with drama, people tend to switch off or feel a sense of guilt or feeling depressed. Often it doesn't sit with them as much as comedy does, and it's right. If you can blend different genres, give us some real acutely serious messages underneath the more superficial comedic moments, then it sits more with you, because you remember comedic moments, you remember laughing, but then when you think back and let it sink into you for a few moments, you realise that there's really profound messages being portrayed. And just as I did say, without repeating myself, we really blended some amazing genres and tones. There was horror moments in here, there was really profound and poignant moments with your little Jojo's mother, obviously Rosie, played by Scarlett Johansson, and great comedic moments, and I really am happy to see this movie's getting its just desserts in terms of the Oscar nominations and just, some acclaim, if you'd like, because I really enjoyed it. But look guys, I'll move on to the next topic, because I have got a blog rundown to do, and God knows, I think I'm a good 10-13 minutes or so into this show already, so I'll quickly jump into the next topic, which is all about one Colin Trevorrow's episode 9, Duel of Fates script apparently being partially or wholly leaked onto the internet. And this is coming in from CBR, the specific article that I'm reading, because it's a really in-depth article that goes through it bit by bit and breaks down some of the differences and some of the little things that are going on in this story. And look, I have to say, just right off the bat, I've read through this. I'm going to go through it bit by bit and give my thoughts on the individual little points that they make on CBR. But I think this movie, or this script, would have made for a much more wholesome, more enjoyable and a more fitting conclusion to a more enjoyable movie and a more fitting conclusion to the Skywalker saga and just the overarching sequel trilogy as a whole. Now, I actually enjoyed The Rise of Skywalker for what it was. It was a discombobulated movie which in a sense reflected the equally discombobulated shambles that was the sequel trilogy. But there was moments in there was fan service and there was some spectacle, and it felt like Star Wars in certain parts. But it did completely retcon The Last Jedi. It left off so many story plots and whatnot and beats which were set up, which is ironic because obviously Rian Johnson did the same to J.J. Abrams after The Force Awakens. But this script feels like it connects all of the stories just a little bit better. It makes for a more wholesome, as I did say, ending. And I really like some of the creative decisions that Colin was choosing to go down with this movie. The concept of Kylo Ren going off and searching for a big powerful Sith Lord to teach him the ways of the dark side even more, to show him that he wasn't doomed to be a failure like his grandfather before him. Just the thoughts of that intro, so much better, I would say, than Kylo going to Exegol and meeting a zombified Emperor Palpatine. Though we could have had a heist featuring Rose, BB-8, Poe, Finn and Rey trying to infiltrate the manufacturing station of the First Order Space Navy. It doesn't go well, but we have little callbacks to the original trilogy with Rey disguised as a Tusken Raider, and double-bladed lightsabers. A really thrilling start to the movie with them attempting a heist. It's unsuccessful, then they manage to escape. That would have been an incredible start to episode 9. It would have had paybacks, a callback, I keep saying paybacks, callbacks, which would have been neat. And then further on, we see the likes of Hux escaping or disappearing off the Coruscant. He becomes the sort of leader-in-chief underneath Kylo Ren. He's like a supreme commander. I don't actually know the actual title, but yeah, he's happy. He has been paid more respect in this script than what he perhaps did in The Rise of Skywalker and The Last Jedi prior to that. And it just seems like it's a better story. I don't know why they decided to go off in different directions creatively to such an extent where he had to leave the production, and obviously JJ had to come in and save the day to an extent. I mean, we've even got Kylo Ren going to Mustafar. We've got Luke hunting after him and haunting him in spectral form. Kylo is going down a more Hamlet route, and it's really pushing. That would have pushed Adam Driver's acting to the absolute maximum. It would have been a more fitting role for him. And look, there's moments with him in Rise of Skywalker that I enjoyed, but this would have been a much better role for Adam Driver. And we know the guy can do it. If anyone that's seen Marriage Story knows he can do it. And then you've got the likes of Sith holocrons, and we do have paybacks to Palpatine, but not in any way the sort of demeaning way which, in terms of the original trilogy, that we get in the Rise of Skywalker. And then we have more fitting, sizable roles for Rose, and that would have been great for Kelly Marie Tran, who is a wonderful actress. In her defence, even though the character was a bit shit in The Last Jedi, that's not down to her, that's down to poor writing. She could have been off and stole a Star Destroyer and had some really sizable moments at the end in terms of assaults on Coruscant and whatnot, and pre-Imperial technology being used. It's so exciting, this concept, this script, and I'm really the recurring theme and word that comes to my mind when I think about this is just why did this not happen? It's just absolutely baffling. We have meetings on Mortis, which ties into the Clone Wars. It's a great little nod to hardcore fans who have watched that fantastic series from Dave Filoni. And we've got the likes of Yoda and Obi-Wan and Luke appearing and confronting Kylo with Rey. Kylo doesn't turn back to the good side, the other light. He's the out-and-out villain in this story, and he's never redeemed. And I think that would be a darker, more fitting ending to the story. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed reading through this article. I really liked the leaked script, and it's a real shame that Trevorrow, I can never say this guy's name, never got to see this vision played out on the screen. The one real issue I would say is the sizable role of Carrie Fisher's Princess Leia. This was finished, this script, prior to Carrie Fisher passing away, so that would have had to have also been dealt with, and that may have undercutted the story, much like it did in The Rise of Skywalker with J.J. Abrams. He had to address that before he could go into his own story. But there's just so much going on in this, and it's a real shame, as I did say, that it never seen the light of day. But look guys, I will move on, because it's no point dwelling in the past. It never happened, and so it is what it is. We got The Rise of Skywalker and we just have to deal with it. But the next topic, if I can get this goddamn thing to work, Movie Web are killing me with pop-ups, is all about Charlie Hunnam and him wanting another shot, as they say, a do-over on King Arthur. He has come out and he's blamed the film's flop on miscasting. Now, I don't know who's been miscast. We've got the likes of Eric Bana appearing in this movie. Maybe it's David Beckham. But he says that he'd like to go back to King Arthur because there's a lot of things that went wrong during that, a lot of things that were out of our control. I just don't think we ended up matching the aspiration. We just didn't quite make the movie the way we wanted. He's went on to say the idea was that if it was a success we would have made several of those films. I'm really captivated by the Arthurian legends, and I just feel like we really missed an opportunity to tell a long form story. Now I do agree, there's a certain attraction in the Arthur legends. It's something about the world, the mysticism, the action, and if it's told right and it's casted right, then there's real potential for a franchise to blossom out of it. But it wasn't a good movie, was it, Charlie? Let's be honest. I don't know if there's truth to miscasting in that, throwing the story off, the central arc off, like he says. He says it crippled the central storyline, and it's actually not in the film anymore. So I don't know how much truth there is to this. If Charlie's saying it, then I suppose there is a degree of truth. But I don't think anything could have saved this movie. I watched it and it really wasn't a good movie. And I'm a big fan of Hunnam. I watched Sons of Anarchy. I thought it was wonderful. And I like him as an actor. I can't wait to go and see The Gentleman. I'm going to see that this weekend, and I hope he is really, really good in it, alongside the likes of Hugh Grant and Matthew McConaughey, because I really do enjoy him. But I can't agree with him here. It was a terrible movie. The CG was shit. The opening was way too long and winded, full of exposition. And it felt like that Robin Hood movie with Taron Egerton. There was modern elements supplanting themselves into a period piece, and it just didn't work for me. So no, I'm going to make this short and sweet. It was Guy Ritchie, incidentally. He teams up with Guy Ritchie. I think it was Guy Ritchie that actually directed this movie. So that was a big surprise, because I'm a big fan of Guy Ritchie as well. But thankfully, Guy's seen the error of his ways. I think he did another movie recently as well, if I'm correct. It may have been Aladdin. And that I really enjoyed that. But maybe he's seen the error of his ways and went back to the more British-centric mobster-style movies that really made his career what it was in the early stages. And he's get these ideas of getting off and doing stupid things like this out of his system. But look, guys, I ain't got much more to add to it. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope we don't get a redoing, even with Charlie in there. And I'm going to move on to the blog rundown on that note, because I ain't got much more to add. And coming in first on the blog rundown is a little movie called Rattlesnake. It's a Netflix movie, and it's been reviewed by Stephen Wilkins. Now, of course, this is a more summarised version of the blog rundown. I'm not going to go in depth and give my thoughts, because I've not seen this movie. I did watch half or a section of the next movie, so I can't possibly give my thoughts. But look, Steve, he semi-enjoyed it. He says it wasn't the most gripping drama thriller movie, but look, it killed a bit of time, and that is what it is, really. Netflix do a wide array of different movies. Let's be honest, they cater to so many different demographics, so many different genres, and it's the one thing I enjoy about that streaming service. It offers guys like Zach Hilditch a chance to come in and make a theatrical length movie, or a feature length movie. That makes no sense. A feature length movie that otherwise you wouldn't get from a traditional studio. So look, it does a lot of good things and a lot of wrong things in that regard. I ain't seen the movie though, so I can't possibly speak about it in terms of artistic merit. So on that note, I'm going to move swiftly onwards to In the Tall Grass. This is the one I watched about 25-30 minutes of. It's an hour and 30 long minute movie, and yeah, Steve says that it is what it is. It's a nice little drama thriller. He really enjoyed Patrick Wilson's performance in it, and look, Patrick always turns up and gives his A game. He's a brilliant actor. I really enjoy him in The Conjuring and whatnot as Ed Warren. And I didn't like the movie. I just didn't. I thought it was boring. It was long and winded. It went all over the place, and I get bored with it. I left. I switched it off, and I was off. And that's a rare thing for a Stephen King adapted novel or adapted movie to do that to me. It's really rare, so I think that speaks volumes for that particular movie. Stephen didn't hugely enjoy it either, but he says it is what it is. It's an okay little drama, suspenseful drama movie. I slightly disagree. I'd buggered off, but look, all art's subjective, and no one person's right in that regard. So I'm going to move on to the next and the final movie on this week's blog rundown. On that note, it's Furie. This is another Netflix movie, incidentally, and this is the most intriguing one to me. Certainly Stephen enjoyed it. He says that it does get a little bit convoluted. The action becomes a little extended at certain points. I've not actually got the review in front of me. I accidentally switched it off, god damn it. So I'm relying on my memory here. But he says it was a decent little action thriller movie with some nice action set pieces. I believe it's actually a Vietnamese action movie, so again, much like I alluded to before, Lee Van Kite is in directing this one. It's not a name that springs out to me right away, and again, it's just Netflix. They buy up and give distribution deals to these movies, which otherwise wouldn't see the light of day, and it's a real positive thing about that streaming service. I like Netflix. I'm subscribed to Netflix. I'm going to watch this movie. I love action movies. I love these sort of Asian action movies which are filled to the brim with martial artist stuff going on, and really interesting cinematography and just choreographed sequences. We've seen it with a whole array of different things. Triple Frontier is the one that springs to mind right away, with Western and East Asian styles clashing literally on the screen. So I'm very intrigued by this. Stephen enjoyed it. I like the look of it. I'm going to watch it. Are you going to watch it though, guys? What was your thoughts on the 3 movies on this week's blog rundown? Have you seen In the Tall Grass? What did you make of it? Did you get bored with it and step away like I did? What do you make about the comments of Barbara Broccoli about there not being a female Bond on the horizon? Do you agree with Barbara that it should be a man's story, a male character? And do you think that females should have their own specific movies made about them? What's your thoughts on Taika Waititi? Was he vindicated with the Oscar nominations for Jojo Rabbit? Did you enjoy that movie? And what do you make about Colin Trevorrow's script being leaked? Is it better than The Rise of Skywalker? And do you think Charlie Hunnam's right about, goddamn, doing another King Arthur movie? If you've got anything to say at all, you can comment below and let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comment section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it. And you can subscribe to the channel if you're listening and liking what you're hearing from my dome. And if you do, you'll see me again tomorrow with Stephen for our weekly movie review. Well, we will be talking about Sam Mendes' Oscar frontrunner 1917. If you don't subscribe, then I'll probably not see you again, which is sad. But look guys, I'm done. See you after.